So, how to start freelancing with no money?
Let's find out.
Hello, I'm your host Casino. I'm the Digital Alchemist, and today I want to talk about how to start freelancing when you have no money. Now, the reason I want to talk about that is because this is one of the questions I get asked most, and I often try to reply, person to person because it can be different depending on the situation, but I thought it was interesting to make this video, even though I already talked about that in various different videos. But I thought it's interesting to just see what is the common ground wherever you are in the world. If you want to start freelancing, doing web design, web development, could be web marketing, but how do you start when you have no money? And see, I often talk about you need to invest in yourself, and sometimes I talk about free stuff, but most of the time I'm trying to teach you that you need to invest in yourself. If you want good results, you need good tools. But that being said, I totally understand when you're just getting started, you have no money whatsoever, you want to be a web designer, you want to be a web developer, you want to embrace that career, but yet you have no money, you don't know where to start. In that case, this is the video for you. Now, even if you're not really in that situation, I believe this video can still help you to grasp the fundamentals of what you need to do. Now, if you have some money, it's even better. But if you know how to do it with no money, you will know how to do it when you get loads of money. And by the way, as I said, I'm experimenting various formats. So this is one of these. I just wanted to go outside today and just, chill outside, listen to the waves, listen to the wind, and just talk to you. Now, before we dive deeper, I just want to make clear that many roads lead to Rome. And in our case, Rome is becoming a web designer or a web developer. So there are various ways to get there. Now I'm going to show you and teach you my way, but there are other ways. First of all, you should get the gear that you can afford. See, I often hear people telling me, yeah, I should have a powerful computer, or I need Photoshop, I need this and that. I need ELEMENTOR, I want the pro version, and once I have it, then I'll get there. I become a better web designer, web developer. Now, I'm the first one to talk about tools that I love and that I use each and every day. And I completely understand the feeling. You want those tools, and I totally understand that. But what you need to understand is that tools come and go. When I got started, there were some companies like Macromedia. Okay, they were bought by Adobe, but what I'm trying to say is that they created some tools, and tools come and go, companies come and go. Now, some companies stay longer. But the truth is that today, you can get started, you can code a website with free stuff, free tool, you get free training, you have so many things that you can do. So when it comes to gear, of course, it would be nice to have the latest iMac or MacBook Pro, whatever, or maybe a Razer, I don't know, Dell XPS, whatever. Sure. And you will get there if you're passionate enough. But what I'm trying to say is you could start with just a cheap $200 refurbished laptop. You don't need more than that to get started. I already talked about that, but a few years ago I was working on a netbook, if you know what a netbook is. It was kind of a low version of a laptop, really small, really tiny. But what I did is I just plugged that netbook to a bigger screen, so it didn't really make much of a difference. Of course, it was slow, but for what I was doing, creating web pages and doing some graphic stuff, it was okay. Now, if you want to be a video editor editing in 4K or 8K, that's going to be a different story. But as a web designer, as a web developer, you can get started with even an older machine will do. And granted, when I say $200, it might sound like it's really cheap in some countries, but in some other countries, it's the equivalent of a month of salary, for example. So I totally understand for people are going to tell me, yeah, you talk about $200, but do you know what $200 means where I live? And I know, I understand, but some things you could do is look at all the stuff you have. What can you sell? What do you really need? Because oftentimes people tell me, yeah, they don't have the money to buy even a refurbished computer, but you look at the shoes they're wearing, the latest headset and that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying it's your case, but what I'm saying is it something that you could sell to make a little bit of cash? Or maybe you could go and negotiate with a shop that's selling refurbished laptops and develop your commercial skills and tell them, listen, I'm embracing that web design or web development career and I want to strike a deal with you. So what would you say if I did your website for free? And all I'm asking is a discount on the cheapest laptop you have. That kind of thing. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy for some people, but nothing is easy. Now, when I talk about gear, I'm not only talking about hardware, I'm also talking about software. And once again, if you can't afford Photoshop, you could use the GIMP. Or maybe if you don't have the budget for Photoshop, but you have a little bit of money, you could use Affinity software like Affinity Photo. But this video is how to start freelancing when you have no money. So you could start with the GIMP. The GIMP is free, it's got great features, and even though I prefer something like Photoshop or Affinity Photo, it's just because I'm so used to it. I didn't really dive deep with the GIMP, but I know that you can do crazy stuff with the GIMP also. So years ago, that kind of software would have cost a lot of money, and you can get it for free. Now, granted, it's been around for a long time, but still, it's gone better, and you can use it free today. Now, when it comes to coding, if you want to be a web developer, you can use the Notepad, you can use free tools like Sublime Text, and there are many tools. If you want to use a content management system, you can use WordPress. WordPress is free. You can get started. You get some free themes like the Astra theme that I talk about extensively on this channel. And even though they have a premium version that I do recommend, but still, just with the free version, you can do so much. You can create professional websites. And honestly, that's all you need to get started. A decent computer, you need some tools like Sublime Text if you want to code, WordPress, which is free. But the things that you probably won't get for free is a hosting account and a domain name. Now, depending on which provider you choose, you could end up paying something like $50 per year. 50, 60, you can get some at 30. You need to shop around. And you also need to be smart and be on the hunt for discounts like Black Friday, for example. And if you're lacking the money, think about what I said at the beginning of this video. What can you negotiate? What are the stuff that you could sell just to get started? Because trust me, once you start and you start selling even one website, you're gonna make all your money back for the hosting, for some of the tools that you may have purchased. You're gonna make that money back and you're gonna make more. All you need is a stepstone to get started. Next, stop blaming the gear and work on your skills. Because I've seen some people with the latest gear, the best computers, all the tools and everything. And when you see what they create, you can definitely see web design is not for them. But they keep on pushing, and who am I to judge? But I'm just saying, I've seen people with the opposite. They have little tools, some code by hand. But then they produce those masterpieces that you think come from a great web design studio, and then it's just one guy in his garage or in his room with free tools or really cheap tools on an old computer. So what you need to start doing is forget about the gear for a moment and focus on your skills, which is precisely what we're going to talk about in our next point. Two, teach yourself web design for free. If you were trying to become a web designer 20 years ago, that was a different story, but nowadays you can learn everything for free here on YouTube. Now, of course, it may be easier on some paid courses where everything is really streamlined and it takes you from beginner to intermediate to advanced. But you can do pretty much the same thing here on YouTube. You're just gonna have to dig around and learn for yourself, and sometimes you're gonna land on crappy courses and sometimes some great courses, and it's going to be your work to decide what's good and what's not. Now, theory is nice, but practically, where do you get started? Well, for CSS and HTML, I recommend the Dev Ed channel. It's got countless tutorials, and you're going to learn a great lot on this channel. Now, for JavaScript, which is something I must get better at, I would recommend Free Code Camp. Well, I haven't followed the course myself, but I saw that they have like 2 million subscribers, and they have one course that's about 3.5 hours just learning the basics of JavaScript. So, like I said, this is the kind of course that you would have to pay a lot of money for, a few years ago, and now you can get it for free on YouTube. So it's really the time that you want to spend learning. Now, when it comes to WordPress and Elementor, well, you can learn some of it here on my channel, Quesinho. And if you really want to learn WordPress, you're lucky, because here on YouTube, you have some great channels like WP Tuts, WebMonkey, Living with Pixels, Daryl Wilson, Ferdy Korpersuk, WP Crafter, and many, many more. Now, special mention, if you want to learn how to create dynamic WordPress website, you should definitely check WP Tuts YouTube channel. Now, just to be crystal clear, when I mention WordPress, one way of working with WordPress is that you're going to use WordPress, the core of WordPress, and then you're going to develop your own themes, which is the way that, you probably had no choice a few years ago on WordPress. But then we started seeing tools like page builders, like Divi, Elementor. Three, create a killer portfolio. Now, I've talked about that in many videos, but I will keep on talking about it because many people think that it's complicated to have a decent to nice to very nice portfolio, when actually it's way simpler than you may think. And it goes like this. So in our scenario, you have no money. You only have what you need to create the websites. Maybe you have just a decent computer, you have your hosting, you have a domain name so you can showcase your services. So of course, first of all, you need your own website, and you should spend the time working on it. And actually, when you learn all the stuff on YouTube, learning about how to create websites with WordPress or whatever, you're going to use your website as the real life project to make things come to life. So you should spend the time you need to have a nice website, but don't spend years creating your website. It needs to be good. It does not need to be perfect. But of course, you want to show what you're capable of, so make sure that you spend the time to make it look good. Next, in my opinion, you need at least 3 websites in your portfolio. Could be up to 6, could be 9, but don't go and put 20 websites in your portfolio. Well, you could. All I'm saying is, if you have 20 killer websites, fine. But sometimes when there's too much choice, it kind of becomes a headache for the people trying to make a decision of whether or not you're a good fit for them and they're a good fit for you. Okay, but in our case, we will go with 3 websites. So you're going to tell me, but how am I supposed to have websites in my portfolio when I'm watching a video about how to get started freelancing with no money? Well, the answer is simple. You need to look at people around you that you know. Your connections could be in your family, it could be friends, even though most of the time I don't like working with friends and family. But to get started and to get a portfolio, that's a different story. You have anyone in your family or in your friends that has a company, and do they need a website? You could strike a deal with them. Now, how would you approach them? Well, you could tell them, listen, I'm working hard to become a professional web designer or web developer, and I'm going to make you an offer that you cannot refuse. Now, let's say that a website in your country is $1,000. That could be 2,000, 3, 10,000. Just replace that figure with what's the average in your country. So you tell them, okay, that website would have cost $1,000, but I'm going to offer it to you for free, but here are the conditions. First of all, you can never say that it was made for free. And you make them sign an NDA, it makes things official. Why? Because you're going to ask me, why don't I just say it's free? Well, If it was just free, it could communicate that it's low value. That's not what you want. You want to communicate the value, and then you're going to tell them it's free. Two, you have the final word on the design. Because think about it. You're offering a lot of work, value work for free. So you need to get something in exchange. And what you're getting in exchange is the ability to have a website looking exactly the way you want to show it in your portfolio. So that's how you're going to negotiate with them. Now, you're going to get some no's, so be ready. But don't be discouraged, because eventually you're going to get some yeses. And before you know it, you have 3 deals for 3 websites, and you're going to be the master on board. You will create the design that you want to create. So you need to make sure that your skills are up to par. But once again, it does not need to be perfect. Remember, they're getting value for free. Your job is to make sure that you make the best possible website that you can at that moment, because you will get better over time. Now, because we're talking about freelancing with no money, one thing that the client's going to have to pay is their hosting and their domain name. But in my experience, that has never been a problem. And finally, start networking. Now, I've made a few videos about that, but many people ask me where should they go online to find some freelancing jobs. And at the time of recording this video, my answer is going to be the same. I'm not on online freelancing platforms. I'm not saying it's not possible to make some money there. It is, and some people are absolutely crushing it. But in my opinion, especially when you're getting started, it's going to be way too much competition. It's going to be too much work just trying to get some leads, and you're not going to get the best leads. So instead, what I recommend is that you go and check your local chamber of commerce. I don't know how it's called where you live, but most places have a chamber of commerce. And just ask them what business groups, what business events, what business meetings are there in the region. Now, some of these you have to pay for. But many of those networks, you can actually go once or twice or sometimes 3 times for free as a guest. So just imagine that you manage to find 10 of these networks or events, and you manage to get in twice for free. It's 20 events. 20 events where you can meet potential clients. And one thing that we often overlook is the fact that even though I'm the digital alchemist, and in our industry, we're all about being online, being digital, and I'm the first one. But in my experience, I found it way easier to convert leads to clients when meeting them face to face. That's called the human factor. When you meet people, they can form an idea of whether they trust you or not, whether they like you or not. Whereas on the web, it's harder, especially on the board. People just see some text, they see a name, a small picture, and you're competing with thousands of other freelancers. Whereas in those meetings where you have to go face to face, you actually need to go up there, you need to walk up there, take your car, take the bus, whatever, and you'll find much less competition. Also, don't forget that some of your potential clients, they will never go online. Maybe because they're not at ease with technology, or maybe they're really skeptical and they don't trust stuff that they find online. You might say, well, it's weird because they want a website, but you'd be surprised the number of people that are just paranoid when it comes to doing stuff online. So I hope that you got value out of this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, as it really, really, really helps growing this channel. And if you know someone that could benefit from it, please share it now. Now, if you want more digital goodness and help for your web designer or web developer career, and you're not subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to this channel and smash the notification bell so that you don't miss anything. So the sun is coming down and it's starting to get really noisy out here. Many people are coming to see the sunset. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna wish you a very good day, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are on the planet. And I hope to see you in the next one. Oh, I was about to forget. Don't forget to invest
In your success.